to go, ready is to stop. We sometimes use those with children, with students, and they sometimes just, basically, you can just leave them on your desk. Obviously, it doesn't work for me because I cannot walk around the room. But if you're teaching a class, it's one of the tools. It's an assessment for learning technique that we use with children so that they can tell us without having to put up their hand or without having to wait. They can tell us if they're understanding, or if they turn it over and it's red, they can tell us they have a problem or they don't understand. And then we can intervene as a teacher and help them. Okay, that's just one little simple tool. Right, okay, so I'd like you to do a reflection exercise. And for this exercise, you're going to need a sheet of A3 paper, a large sheet of paper, or you can probably be okay with an A4 sheet since your desks look very busy to me. And I'd like you to take a pen and divide that sheet of paper into 4 squares. So just do a cross like that, so that you have divided the sheet into 4 equal squares, boxes, if you like. Let me know when you've done that, either by showing me the green card or by giving me the thumbs up. Aisha, can we have slide number 4, please? Reflect, think, share. Where am I now? This is not a long exercise, so I'm going to put you under a little bit of time pressure. I want you to spend about 1 minute on each question. Have we got somebody who is a timekeeper? Well, you've all got phones, I presume. You've all got timers on them. Try to stick to the time limits. 1 minute for each box. You have 4 boxes. You have 4 questions. And your time starts now, please.
Simon, could you please repeat the instructions one more time? I think one of them didn't really get it. He raised the red flag. Ready? And name and person. Do I read the okay, Simon, can you hear me? Yeah, you answered the 4 questions. Greatest achievements are you most proud of in terms of the impact it has had? So all of you have teaching experience by now. What's
Okay, you still have 1 minute. Okay, if you could just finish what you're currently working on. And then tell me when you're ready. I think that was quite a bit more than 4 minutes, but it's just a little opportunity for you to reflect on how you currently collaborate. I'd like to move on to, you'll have opportunity to share this, don't worry. Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, thanks. Just a thumbs up is fine, because I don't know if you're hearing me. Can you please have a look in your handouts? You're looking for the handout called TLC 0, Effective Collaboration. TLC 0, Effective Collaboration. And that is on slide 5 or on slide 5, Aisha, please. It's a sheet that looks like this. It's called Effective Collaboration. Can you show me your card, your green card, when you have it, please? Good, thank you. Okay, a quick bit of explanation. This is based on research into how adults collaborate effectively. It obviously can also apply to students in the classroom, but it is quite adult language. And the research shows that there are 7 areas which we need to pay attention to in order to be effective collaborators. This sheet of paper is a self-assessment tool. So I am inviting you to use it to make a judgment about yourself in terms of how well you collaborate. Now you'll see that there is a space on it to write the date. So if you could please take a pen and write today's date on the top of the sheet. The reason for this is because when you have had the opportunity to practice collaborating, and you've maybe a couple of months have maybe passed, that's the point at which you can take the sheet out again and see if you've improved in terms of your skills, your collaboration skills. It is one of the most important soft skills for the 21st century. And a teacher is a leader, so it has to lead, should be leading by example. So any work on ourselves to improve our own collaboration skills is taking the lead, because we want to model the behaviors we want to see in our students, right? So what I'd like you to do, and this should only take you hopefully 5 minutes of your time, you'll see that there are 7 sections, and under each section there are a number of statements, descriptions of behaviors. So for example, under the heading of pausing, it says, listens attentively to others' ideas with mind and body. And then on the right, you will see that there are 3 boxes. The first box is rarely. The second box says occasionally. And the third small box says frequently. You are going to self-assess yourself. You're just simply going to put a cross or a mark in the box, rarely, occasionally, or frequently, depending on how you evaluate your skill in that particular area. Is that clear? Are there any questions? Okay, excellent. Can I give you, you're going to have to work quite fast. Can I give you 5 minutes to complete the task? And when you have completed the task, can you let me know by showing me the green card, please? Okay, your 5 minutes starts now. I don't have a picture of you, but that was your 5 minutes. Ah, there you go. That was 5 minutes up. Was that long enough? Yeah, I've got some green cards there. That's looking good. Okay, excellent. So this is an example, this sheet here is an example of self-evaluation, a self-assessment tool. In this instance, it's a self-assessment tool which is about the behaviors. It describes the behaviors that we want to see in people who are, in students who are effective collaborators. Depending on the age and the level of your students, you can of course use a similar idea with much simpler language, of course, but you, or possibly in their mother tongue. You can use ideas like this with your students. That's something to consider. Okay, we're ready to move on to just the next part, which is establishing ground rules for collaboration. So this sheet here is all about the behaviors that we want to promote in our students in order to collaborate effectively. And I believe it's very important to be explicit and consistent about the behaviors that we want to see, not just in ourselves, but also in our students. And we should model those behaviors ourselves. The second thing I'd like you to do is to have a look at this sheet. It's called TLC 0.1. And the title of the sheet is Ground Rules for Collaboration. It's a sheet that looks like this. Again, if you could just show me the green card so that I know when you're ready. Ground rules for collaboration. Have you got those? Yeah. Most of you have. Excellent. Thank you for showing me. Good. Again, I don't want you to spend long on this, but I do want you to have a read now in the workshop about the type of rules that we need to agree as a group. And again, the reason I'm giving you this is because it's an example of how you might establish ground rules in your classroom. So for example, you could work on a version of this, and again, with your ELT learners, you would probably have to do it in their mother tongue, not in English, because the language is quite complicated. But again, it is important to establish ground rules and to be clear and explicit about them, and then you can refer to them at any point and say, well, this is what we're trying, this is what we're aiming for. So you're setting a high standard. You'll see that there are 5 different sections to this. The first one is about focus. The second is about how we use time. The third one is about how we speak. The fourth one is about how we support each other. And the fifth one is about our attitudes. And you'll see that for each one, there are several bullet points, and then there is a bullet point with nothing written in it. Well, you can, of course, add your own ground rule to that under that section. So again, just a short amount of time to read this through. And if you think of a ground rule that isn't there, I want you to write it in. And this is what I want you to do as you read it. As you read them through, I want you to just, if you agree with the statement, if you agree with it and you can sign up to it, please just put a tick like that, a big tick. If you disagree with it, leave it blank, put nothing, put nothing. Don't put a cross, that's very negative, just put nothing. And if you have another idea, you have space to write your own idea. This is an exercise I'm only going to give you 2 or 3 minutes for, okay? Any questions? Let's go. 3 minutes, max. I'd just like to ask you to keep the camera on, please. Thank you. Okay, 3 minutes isn't very long. Okay, you've done 2 exercises now, or you've done part of 2 exercises, the effective collaboration exercise and the ground rules for collaboration. You've also had 5 or 10 minutes to reflect as well on your current skill in terms of collaboration. What I'd like you to do now is do a think, pair, share. So we're just gonna, it's like a mini plenary, just literally for 2 minutes. I want you to work with the person sitting next to you, or in a group of 3, that's okay as well. And I just want you to share some of the ideas already that are starting to form in your mind, thinking about 2 things. Firstly, I'd like you to share whether there's anything so far that you think you might use with your students in the context of teaching. That's the first thing. Is there anything here that you might adapt to use with students? And the second thing is, what have you learned so far about your collaboration skills? Okay, so think, pair, share for 2 minutes, talking. Off you go.
Sir, can you please repeat the first question? And can you please repeat the first question?
The first question is, as you think, pair, share, think about the ideas of having ground rules for collaboration and being specific about effective collaborative behaviors, and think, is this something that you might, the ideas, not the actual sheets, might you adapt this and use this in a classroom setting? And the second idea, the second thing I'd like you to discuss is, what have you learned about yourself in terms of your collaboration skills or behaviors?
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. That's about 2 minutes. I'm just going to ask you to bring your conversations to a close. And Aisha, if you could put up slide 6, part 3, tools for professional learning, please. Okay, trainees, I guess I'm going to call you trainees, or teachers in the making, or maybe you already are teachers. Can you pull out the following sheets from your handouts? The first one is this one. I'd like you to have these ready. We're going to go through this quite quickly. This is called Personal Action Plan. Have that one on top. The next one is Peer Lesson Observation Sheet. It looks like this. That's number 2. The third one is Reflective Feedback for Professional Development. It's a sheet that looks like this. Good. The fourth one is AFL Learning Walk. And it looks like this. You need those 4 sheets for this next part. The final 2 sheets, it's 2 sheets of paper, and these are called tools of evaluation, and they look like this. There's 2 sheets, there's a lot of writing, and it's a reference document for you. And they all belong together because they are all tools for professional development, your professional development. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is called My Personal Action Plan. My Personal Action Plan. So if you could have that one in front of you, please. Okay, now this is part of your professional portfolio, okay? What we are looking for in a high quality teacher is somebody who is capable of taking the initiative and being proactive about their own professional development. Coming to being present at a training session is really a waste of time unless it leads to change. So if your participation does not lead to a decision or a series of decisions to change and improve or do things differently, then you have wasted your time. The personal action plan is a way to structure the process so that you automatically are thinking about what am I going to do differently as a result of what I have learned? Because everybody is going to learn different things from exactly the same workshop. Just like every student learns different things, slightly different things, interprets things and makes sense of things in a different way. So you will see that there are three main sections. The first section, obviously you put your name and the date on. I'd like you to put your name on and today's date, because you are going to fill this in by the end of the first workshop. Because I want to encourage you to take some proactive action and to make some decisions today about what you are going to do differently as a result of being in the room. So the first section, once you put your name and today's date on, is not something you're going to do now. It's something you're going to use for reflection. It's basically the preparation for when you bring your experiences to talk about in the next session in 2 weeks' time. And you can see that it is giving you space to write what you have tried out. When you have discussed it, if you get the chance to discuss it before the workshop, you have space to record what your partner told you in terms of feedback or insights. And then you've got a box to say what went well, and another row in which you can write what would have been even better. Is that clear? Yeah? It's a very simple self-evaluation sheet for you to record for your professional portfolio the evidence of anything that you have done as a result of the workshop. The second part is planning for the next workshop. You are going to fill this in today. Not now, but you're going to fill it in the plenary session at the end. And you're going to make a commitment to try a new technique. So you have space to write what technique you're going to try, how you're going to use it, which group are you going to use it with. You're also going to think about what problems you might have and how you might preempt and resolve them. And then you're going to say who can support you with this and how. There's also a box for you to write any notes. And a line which says, I am going to do less of. Now, the reason that's there is because quite often we try to do more of something, or we try to do something differently, but we don't stop doing something else. So we're trying to pack more in. So that's an opportunity for you to say what you're not going to do in order to make time to do the new thing. Okay? So that's your personal action plan. Let me turn to the second thing, which is the reflective feedback sheet, which is in 3 parts. And it looks like this. If you have that in front of you, please. Okay. This is a sheet for when you are being observed in your lesson. Now, the best way to improve your practice is to have a plan to try something new. That's the first stage, is to have a plan to try something new. The second stage is to collaborate with somebody you trust, using the behaviors of collaboration and the ground rules for collaboration. That's one way to be clear about how you want to work, and to ask somebody to help you to implement a new technique by coming into your lesson and observing you. And this sheet is to help the person help you to decide what it is you want them to comment on. And this sheet is to help you to focus on one or two things. Now, there's a big long list of things here about what you might see in an effective lesson. This does not mean that you comment on everything. The trick is to comment on the focus. So whatever you write in your action plan, this one here, should be what you focus on in the observation and feedback. It is not a good idea to have too many observed areas. It's much better to have one or two. Just like in a lesson, you don't want 15 learning objectives. You want to have a focus, maybe two, maybe three, at most 4 objectives typically, depending on the length of the lesson, of course. And you'll see that it is divided up into start, middle, and end of lesson. I'm not suggesting that somebody watches you and judges you. That is not what this is about. This is about somebody supporting you to try out a new technique. And basically, the person who helps you is another pair of eyes in the lesson. There are another pair of eyes and another pair of ears in the lesson. And their job, if you like, their role, is simply to support you, not to criticize you. Does that make sense? The experience you may have had will be of traditional lesson observation. I think we've frozen. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I cannot see you or hear you. Yeah. Ah, you're back. I don't know at what point we froze. Can you hear me now? Yeah? Okay. So we were talking about the this sheet, the reflective feedback sheet. Yeah. So the reason collaboration works is because when you are in the lesson doing it, you don't have enough room in your brain to reflect at the same time about what it is you're doing, what you might do differently. And that's what the second person does, the observer. They're not there to give you a grade or to say, this was good, this was bad. They're simply there to be eyes and ears and to collect descriptive evaluation, evidence of what you're doing, so that they can then help you to debrief the lesson. Does that make sense to you? Yeah? It is not like an inspector coming in, or what do you call them, supervisor coming into the lesson and saying, this. That's not the point. The point of collaboration is to support each other to develop professionally, not to be critical. So it should always be evidence-based. And here's an example of how you might collect evidence. It's a tick list of things you might see in a lesson where assessment for learning is happening. It's just an example. It's one example of a tick list. Is this happening? Yes or no? Is it happening a lot? Why is it successful? What might be better? Those are the questions that we're asking when we do this type of developmental collaboration together. So the last thing I want to talk about is, no, not quite the last thing. This sheet here, the Peerless observation sheet, is another tool. You don't use all the tools at once. I'm giving you options here. This sheet here is another way to agree. So you agree before the lesson with the person who's going to come into your lesson. You agree with them what it is you want them to do. So the important thing here is the teacher controls the observation process. The teacher controls the observation, not the observer. The teacher tells the observer what they will do. And the teacher tells the observer what to look for